Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Two Sons Podcast. I am your co-host with my fellow host, my wonderful, amazing brother.
Good morning.
And technically it's night, but it's okay. Um,
Good morning.
okay, and today's episode, we are sticking with the Star Wars theme, and we are going to be discussing the most recent convention that just took place over in London, which was Star Wars Celebration of 2023.
Yes, sir. I wonder how long they've been doing Star Wars Celebration. Like,
My manager and I actually talked about it the other day, and I think they said they started in '99.
oh, so I guess when the Phantom Menace came out, they
Right, and I know
that makes sense.
they don't do it every year. So I think this is like their maybe 12th or 13th one that they've done. Because I know they're
Really,
not
I
doing
thought they
I
were.
know they're not doing one next year. And then the next one's going to be in 2025, to be in Japan.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, I mean, I guess they really don't do it unless they actually have news to like talk about. And I'm assuming the next, I guarantee you, the next one, it's gonna show a lot of information on the stuff we're gonna talk about now. Like, because that'll probably be closer to when it's actually happening.
Mhm. So
Speaking of Star Wars Celebration, look at this cool cup I have. It has Grogu on it.
wow, that's actually a pretty cool cup. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, I got it from the Dollar Tree. So I mean,
Nice, nice. See,
yeah, they got some cool.
it's amazing
That's
what
what
you
I'm
can
saying.
find at Dollar Trees. I mean, it's they're like little corners of wonder.
Exactly. Don't knock shopping on a budget. You gotta do
Exactly.
what
I
you gotta
mean,
do.
they got some good stuff there.
Yeah, things would be rough these days. You gotta get a Grogu cup at Dollar Tree. Get a Grogu cup at Dollar Tree.
Amen to that, brother.
Yes, sir.
So as we just mentioned before, we are going to be discussing Star Wars celebrations that took place this weekend. Unfortunately, it took place in the United Kingdom. So anybody that was in the United States, unless you traveled to Europe, you didn't get to see it live. But Star Wars YouTube page was actually kind enough to stream the event when it took place. So I was
It's like
able to
still on
watch.
the YouTube page, right?
I believe it is. I mean, I'm sure if you go to like their YouTube page, they probably have like the video recordings of all the announcements and stuff that they made. Because I saw after they finished like live streaming it, it was still available to like watch back.
Oh,
So,
that's pretty cool.
but yeah. So jumping right into that, lost my train of thought. Uh, Forgot what I was
Star
gonna say.
Wars
Oh, I
Celebration.
was able to watch most of the live stream this weekend. Unfortunately, my brother wasn't. But he knows basically all the announcements and everything that was discussed. So he has come up with a nice little tidy list of basically all the major announcements that they made, and these announcements are solely referring to the TV shows and the movies. They did, discuss other topics such as the High Republic, which is in mainly like a book form, and they discussed a little bit about Jedi Fallen Order Survivor, and they talked a little bit about Galaxy's Edge, just pretty much everything to do with Star Wars. But
Yeah.
obviously we're going to be focusing on more of the major announcements in the ongoing TV shows and the ones that have not come out yet. And then also they announced the next. It's not really a trilogy, but the next three lines of movies that are scheduled to come out in the coming years.
Yes.
So I think without further ado, we'll get to the first point of our conversation. Where Joey, how we doing today? Are we doing okay today?
Yeah, we're surviving.
Oh, okay, all right. I like that.
We're
I like that.
surviving. As you guys know, from last week we talked about, Mario, was coming out the past weekend. It came out and it was a movie and it's rough. It was rough, not gonna lie. Other
I
than
feel like
that,
our like check-ins are always kind of like, oh, let's see how Joey's doing.
yeah, let's see if he survived this weekend. But I mean, overall, yeah, whatever. It sucked to work. I mean, I'm not surprised, but it actually had the biggest biggest opening for any animated movie. It just passed Sonic 2. So that's big for Illumination, and definitely big for Mario. And I believe there's a second one coming because there two post credit scenes because everything's Marvel now. Um, but I mean that's good. And again, it's only like a 90-minute movie, so you guys should check it out definitely. If you haven't, I haven't checked it out, but I do have the poster, which is right there.
Nice.
Unfortunately, you cannot see. I just switched around my room a little bit so you could see a little bit of my collection. I don't know if you could see right. No, no, where's my finger going? Nope, nope, no, no. Well, over there, back back there, that's the Guardians one that way. And then that way over there is the I have Batman.
You
But
would have
that's
to you would have to point over your left shoulder to point to the Batman. Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
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 there
right
you
there.
go. See? Yeah, there you go.
And then so yeah, Guardy. Well,
See now, for
yeah,
those of you that are listening to this audio version, you're not going to be able to experience the hand motions that you just made trying to point out the posters.
they're still cool posters nonetheless. But otherwise same old trucking along. Graduating in a month or so and trying to find jobs and just getting along with it. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just finished my work week, so I got a little bit of a break until I got a busy weekend ahead of me. And I got some final things coming up for schools. I got to take care of that, and I might be doing some dog sitting next week. So that should be pretty fun. Um, I just realized actually when we record next Wednesday, I should be over there. So if you hear a large 115-pound Saint Bernard dog in the background, it's because I'm dog sitting. Um, but overall doing pretty good. Trucking along. So one day at a time. But it's been pretty good.
Very nice, very
So,
nice.
now that we got our wonderful introductions out of the way, like we usually do, I think it's time that we jump right into the conversation. So, like I said, my brother has a nice little list he compiled in front of him to just kind of like, one by one go over the announcements that they made. And I think we should start with the movies first because those really aren't too fleshed out. So there's not really a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
material to cover. But there has been more stuff announced about the shows. So the shows will definitely take a little bit longer to flush out and just discuss. But I think it's a safer bet if we start off with the movies. So
Yeah, so I mean, before I get into this list, right now, from what I've written down, there are one, two, three, four, five, at least 9 Star Wars projects, TV shows, movies, whatever it is, coming out in the following couple of years. Um, so that's a decent amount of Star Wars content that we are going to be getting because after the sequel trilogy, we really didn't get much besides the Bad Batch, Mandalorian, and what Andor. Those are probably the 3 biggest ones that we have seen in the past couple of years. So getting 9 in like the next 3 or probably 4 years or so, probably around that time. Obviously, some of these don't have release dates yet. Is a pretty big deal. It's a big one for Star Wars fans. So we're definitely eating good, eating good. But like my brother said, they are doing 3 new Star Wars movies, which is crazy because I was actually just wondering when we would see Star Wars back in the theaters. If you guys don't know, before Star Wars Celebration a couple of months back, there was rumors that Patty Jenkins, sorry, Patty Jenkins, she directed both Wonder Woman's. She was gonna direct the Fighter Squadron film, but it fell through because I believe the how Wonder Woman 84 was handled, so, which is unfortunate because Wonder Woman is great and obviously she has directing talents, but it fell through. So that's a movie we are going to miss out on, but we do have these 3 to combat it. So starting off, we have one that is actually going to be directed by the most recent director of the Indiana Jones movie that is coming out, Dial of Destiny, in June. I don't remember his name, but it is going to be based on the very first Jedi in like all of Star Wars, which is a pretty cool concept. We're obviously going to see a whole bunch of new characters, and I don't know from comics or anything who their first Jedi was, any of the story, and I'll probably just keep blind until I see the movie, because I'm going to be interested to see it. I don't know what time period this is going to be, and I don't exactly know, how it's going to be laid out and flushed out. But that is, it's pretty cool. It's interesting, and I like that. Excuse me, Star Wars is going in a newer direction in terms of getting away from the Skywalker trilogy and things we've known. Um, but I mean, you want to say anything about that, or should I just go through all the list and then we'll talk?
yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to so I believe the time frame, because I don't know if you saw, but Star Wars, they put out a brand new timeline of their projects
Yeah,
going forward. So this project is taking place in their Dawn of the Jedi era, which is the very first era. So it goes Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, the High Republic, and then I believe it jumps right into, I guess you would just assume like the Clone War era, and then obviously like the reign of the Empire, I think it's like Age of Rebellion, The Rise of the First Order, and then like the New Jedi Order. So they broke down a nice little timeline like at the convention of like basically what is taking place in what era. So first of all, that's amazing news because anybody that enjoys Star Wars like non-canon or extended universe, they just pretty much confirmed that places like the Old Republic are going to become official Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
I don't know how they'll handle that material because obviously it is Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy kind of has a love-hate relationship with the fans. So I think they're going to be very careful with introducing any material from the Old Republic. But I mean, that's a conversation for another time because they haven't announced anything for that era. But if you don't know the extended universe, allow me to enlighten you basically. Um, I don't have a problem with this movie. I think it would be a really cool movie to see, especially since we'd be going like thousands of years in the past. Um, because obviously this takes place thousands and thousands of years, before the old republic, even our timeline. So this is going like way back. They did classify this movie as kind of like a biblical movie where, the rise of the first Jedi is kind of going to follow almost like a biblical story. Um, and when it came to the expanded universe, basically what happened is that when these force sensitive users came about, they all lived on one planet together, right? And they were morally gray. So, they just followed the force. There was no light side, there was no dark side. They acknowledged that there were two sides, but they tampered with both the light side and the dark side. Over the years, however, there were those that got tempted by the dark side and they started just using primarily the dark side instead of staying in that gray area. So because of that, we see a shift between dark side users and light side users. Obviously, they have two fancy names to separate both sides, but because of that, this war, lasted for years and basically like decimated the Force user population, and the light side followers were forced to flee to another planet where they officially established the Jedi Order, and that's basically how like the separation of like Jedi, and they didn't classify them as Sith yet because in the expanded universe, like the Sith are their own race. They're like the fully red people with like the yellow eyes.
Yeah.
So there is a race out there called the Sith. So they weren't classified as Sith; they were just classified as like dark Jedi.
Interesting.
And so that's basically how the breakdown happens in the expanded universe. How they plan on introducing the first Jedi in let's just call it Disney Star Wars. I'm not sure. Um, I feel like they're gonna try to do this like epic, like they mentioned, like this epic biblical journey that this one character goes through, and maybe he's the first, he or she is the first one to wield a lightsaber, and that's how they become, the Jedi. I'm a little skeptical about it because depending on how it's done, you're either gonna piss off current Star Wars fans or you're gonna piss off Star Wars EU fans because obviously when Star Wars ventures back into the past and they're going before the Skywalker saga, a lot of that is like extended universe territory, and there are obviously like fans of that era. Like there's tons of books on the expanded universe, and people are just in love with that era. And if they're gonna bring some of that material into canon and introduce it to us, they're gonna have their hands full because they're gonna have to really think about it, and they're gonna have to get like the best producers and writers on top of it to basically make it succeed. Because I mean, again, we did a whole episode on how Star Wars fans are toxic, so there's gonna be a lot of haters out there if it's not done properly. I think it is a very cool concept. I love how they're going back in time. They're moving away from the Skywalker saga, and I think it would be cool. Obviously, there are a lot of details, that that I mentioned that belong to the expanded universe. So if they're able to flesh those out and introduce those concepts correctly, I think it'd be a great film. And I believe the director, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like he was the one that just worked on I want to say John Wick movies.
I
Um,
mean, I'm not sure, but
I'm
like I
not
said,
sure. I
I'm
know
pretty
they
sure
announced
he.
the name of the director, but I don't remember what. But he, oh, I maybe the Wolverine. Oh, Logan. It was Logan. He was the one that directed Logan.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like I said, it was the same director that was doing also the fifth Indiana Jones. So either way, I mean, he has directing experience. And if it's Logan, Logan is regarded as one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Right.
Um, so I mean, definitely, a lot of hope there and everything. And I think, hopefully Disney plays. I think Disney is going to play it relatively smart and careful coming with these movies because of what happened in the sequel trilogy. Obviously, Disney made their money, but they really messed up, something that could have been a lot greater than it obviously was. And we'll get into it with the other movies, but if they take their time, don't rush this, and start off on the right foot, then it'll be it definitely will be worth a watch. And it'll be something fresh in the Star Wars universe that I think it's going to be exciting to see, because obviously it could be something that can go into other things. But moving on from that, we have I think the next two are honestly very exciting to talk about, because excuse me, the next one is actually going to be directed by Dave Filoni, which is amazing. If you guys don't know, Dave Filoni is the Star Wars god, responsible for Rebels, Clone Wars, half the Mandalorian, virtually everything, and part of Rogue One, the Vader scene, I believe. Literally everything great that has happened with Star Wars in the past couple of years, Dave Filoni has been, he's been in it somehow. Cowboy Hat Man. So I mean, he's going to be directing this movie that is actually going to close out the Mandalorian and shows like that. From Disney Plus. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a Disney Plus movie. I believe it's going to be in theaters. But that's going to be super exciting to see, because obviously, as you guys know, The Mandalorian is very popular, and stakes keep getting higher and higher every season, and it could even lead off into more of Grogu's story. See what happens to Din Djarin. What goes on with him again. More Bo-Katan, Moff Gideon. Depending on what happens with him, and a lot more characters that may or may not have been introduced. I mean, hell, they could even you could see Ahsoka and Luke on the big screen again, possibly, if they're featured in that, which would be super cool to see. Obviously, we could see Order 66 again on the big screen. That'd be super cool. Um, who doesn't love that? But I mean, again, we don't really know much about it besides what it's on the idea of what it is and who's directing it. But I don't think it's gonna disappoint. I mean, if it's Dave Filoni, I trust him, and excuse me, I think they're gonna play it smart. And this is probably gonna be one of the more popular films in recent years for Star Wars, and I think it'll be a good piece of media, and hopefully it will develop into more of Grogu's story, and see maybe where that leads us with him, in the future of Star Wars.
I mean, I think every Star Wars fan has a pretty positive relationship with Dave Filoni, because obviously he's brought us some great material. Um, he also is a big part of the Ahsoka show that is going to be coming out later this summer. So that's also another project of his to look out for. And basically, how they described his movie is that it was going to be a movie that basically brings together the Mandoverse live action series. So that includes the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and the Ahsoka show. So basically, it's going to be a movie bringing all these three shows together to their like ultimate ends. So basically, people think that it's going to like lead to an epic battle between the High Republic and what is left of the Galactic Empire, which they've been calling the Imperial Regency. Obviously, there was a nod to that in actually today's episode of The Mandalorian. So I mean, if you haven't watched that, like, please go watch that because it'll make more sense. But a lot of people think that tying in all these universes together, because obviously all these shows are interconnected because they all take place in the same galaxy. Um, his movie is basically going to tie up all those live action series and basically close out that era of Star Wars. What they're calling the New Republic era. Because obviously at the end of the New Republic era, we have the Rise of the First Order, and then we have the sequel trilogy. So, but besides that, we don't know much. They don't really have any release dates. I mean, people like to speculate that at least 2025, 2026, somewhere around there. So we still have a few more years with all of our beloved characters. And again, it's Dave Filoni, so he hasn't really disappointed in any of the stuff that he's put out. And every Star Wars fan loves him. So I mean, anybody that I've talked to, they feel like this movie's in safe hands because it's Dave Filoni. I mean, that's pretty much the argument. Like they don't give any good reasons. It's just like it's Cowboy Hat Man.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
So
he can never
I definitely
disappoint.
am looking forward to that movie. It's probably gonna be my most anticipated out of the three that we talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think part of this movie could also play into the next movie we're going to talk about here. Now that I kind of think about it with what's going to be going on with it, but the third and final movie on our list is actually going to bring back one of excuse me, one of our most recent Star Wars characters, as in Daisy Ridley's Rey, and it's going to be a movie basically centered around her rebuilding the Jedi Order. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually quite excited about this film because regardless of how the sequel trilogy left off, I think Rey can be a very interesting character when they do her right. I think Daisy really is great in that role, and it's really nice to see, the reaction of the fans of her coming back. And again, with the direction I think Disney's going in, and after what happened with the sequel trilogy, I hope they figured out what they did wrong and do it justice because it can be definitely great. We don't need to include characters that we saw in the sequel trilogy because I know a lot of those actors may or may not want to come back again. It would be cool to see Finn again, obviously, and maybe see more of him developing in the Force. But I don't think that's going to happen because of John Boyega's relationship with Disney. But who knows? Again, we could see Poe, just stuff like that. But right now, it's centered around Rey rebuilding Jedi Order, and excuse me, that's just quite exciting because the Jedi Order is something we haven't seen in a while in Star Wars since the prequel times. So I mean, again, this is where we could see Grogu because this will be obviously years in the future, and his species does live for hundreds of years. So it's possible. And again, if this ties together, excuse me, if Dave Filoni's movie ties together everything, we could see Grogu go off and possibly see him back in that. But I don't want to speculate too much on everything. I just want to talk about obviously it's centered around her rebuilding Jedi Order. I'm not sure who the director or directors are. Um, I don't know if you know. I didn't see that when I looked it up. But regardless, it's definitely going to be interesting to see more of Rey, and it is, I believe, going to it's going to take place 30 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker,
15 years.
right? 15. So I mean, not a crazy long time, but 15 years is still a decent time. So it'll be interesting to see, what is left of something, and where's this going to take place? What planets is it going to be on? Are we going to see new planets? Are we going to see um, familiar faces again? Who knows? But it's something to get excited about in terms of this can definitely be a redo for Rey, and possibly make her a better character. Again, I don't think she's a bad character. I just think Disney didn't do enough planning in terms of her, and I think Daisy really I think it's great that she's coming back and gets that chance. But I mean, all these movies are one in their own and definitely exciting. I mean, again, a movie about the first Jedi is definitely something fresh and new. Dave Filoni directed movies, always great, and again, seeing more of Rey and where that goes is definitely going to be also interesting. So I mean, I think all these movies are going to be definitely good and interesting in their own ways, and I think some of them definitely are going to be a hit. I just hope none of them are rushed. Again, this is most of them are probably going to play around 2025, 2026. I definitely don't think 2024. So probably in the next 3 to 5 years, somewhere around there, we'll see these films, and it'll just be nice to see Star Wars get back into the cinemas because we haven't seen Star Wars in the cinemas really since Rise of Skywalker, which was what 4 years ago. So the only thing you could see was a re-release, which I did see with Rogue One, and they're gonna do Return of the Jedi. But there's been no other Star Wars project, so it'll be nice to see it on the big screen opposed to just shows. But I mean that closes out all the movies that we're here to talk about. And I mean, I just again, like now that we have this YouTube channel and obviously a little more influence on social media, you guys should definitely let us know what you're excited for, because I would really love to hear, because I've been looking on TikTok and stuff, and a lot of people are disappointed in Rey coming back. A lot of people are excited. A lot of people just don't care. A lot of people are excited about Dave Filoni. Some people are skeptical about the First Jedi. So I mean, again, conversation is always something good in Star Wars. Um, so I mean, yeah, those are the three movies we're here to talk about.
I mean, like I do have to admit, like I mean, with the third and final movie, I was a little disappointed that they were bringing Ray back. Not because I do not like Daisy Ridley, like I think she's a great actress, but because I just feel like the sequel trilogy pretty much like destroyed Ray's character. And I feel like they're trying to make this movie with her as a way to kind of like bring her back or like revive her character. And I feel like even if like the writing and the directing is perfect, I don't think one movie could make up for the mistakes of three movies. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it's not gonna make up the mistakes. Like again, I don't know if this is gonna be a one and done film or if they are trying to do more, in the future of kind of reviving the sequel trilogy. I think Disney kind of did realize their mistakes, and they're being a little ballsy bringing her back because again, you could
A
completely
lot of
fix
people
things.
think that this is like Kathleen Kennedy's way of like trying to save Ray because a lot of people think that like she was the one that came up with the concept of Ray and like she doesn't want her like character to fail. So I mean, obviously after how she was portrayed in the sequels and how well she was received in the sequels, she wants to like kind of revive her like child in a way. And I I don't mind it. Like I said, I'm not really enthused about it because I just feel like there's just so much stereo and just so much controversy around the sequels that it's really hard to get excited for anything that has any of the sequel characters in it. And I think the biggest thing is because obviously a lot of the actors and actresses really are trying to forget it. I mean, some of them might have even had their acting careers, ruined or halted because of it. And when you seem to talk to most of them or, interviews with them, they kind of just try to forget it ever happened pretty much.
I mean,
And
almost all of them, all their careers are done besides
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac. You
Mhm.
know,
So
I saw
it's
Daisy Ridley in a couple of small things, and
and
same
obviously he
with
was in Moon Knight. So I mean that was the biggest project he's done since.
yeah. I mean, he's playing Miguel O'Hara in Spider Verse. So I mean, and I think both
There definitely is a lot of hesitation around the idea. And again, the thing that again I'm looking forward to all these movies. Maybe some more than others, obviously. But the thing that bothered me was out of all three of these movies, only one of them was not involved with the Skywalker saga. And, I mean, we thought that, obviously The Rise of Skywalker was going to be the final movie of the Skywalker saga. And I feel like they're kind of beating a dead horse, in that regard. I mean, I know there are shows that obviously take place in the Skywalker saga and, they have to wrap up and stuff like that. But I mean, we're talking about the future of Star Wars here. And I mean, it doesn't really seem like the Skywalker saga is over if you're still going to be making movies about it and TV shows and stuff like that.
I
I know
think
there
it's
are projects
because
that like are taking place in the High Republic, and obviously that's a whole different era. But I don't know. I expected maybe a little bit more variety, at least when it came to the era or like the timeline when it came to the movies. But I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm still excited for all the content. I mean, it's three new Star Wars movies, and it's gonna be really cool to see how everything plays out, especially watching like Dave Filoni's movie on the big screen because like it's basically like watching all the Disney Plus shows like in one. Instead of watching it on Disney
yeah,
Plus, you're watching it in the movies. So
I think it's because Disney, like again, I don't exactly know how the head people at Lucasfilm and Star Wars and Disney think, but I think they realized that they did screw up in the plan they had years ago to kind of close out this story of the Skywalker saga, and obviously it didn't go as planned, and now I'm hoping they right those wrongs because I'm not really thinking about the Dave movie in terms of like still Skywalker saga, even though it does obviously include certain things, but I just think with how the Ahsoka show looks and how the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett are, I think a movie like that is gonna be great to see on the big screen. Because again, who doesn't want to see these characters on a big screen again? And we could talk about it a little more, but this might be the next movie where we actually see like some of the best lightsaber battles, you know, because from what Ahsoka looks like, I mean, obviously we know she can get down with a lightsaber, so I mean, that'll be pretty cool to see.
That's true.
Um,
And I mean, when I
but
when I say Skywalker Saga, I'm referring to it like as the timeline. Like, I mean, obviously, like in these
well, yeah,
live action shows, like, they don't really correlate to the Skywalker family, but it takes place in the Skywalker timeline, so to speak.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, but regardless, like you said, it's very exciting news. You know, I don't even know if we knew we were be getting a movie, let alone three. And it'll definitely be interesting to see, when obviously people get casted for things. Obviously, we'll find out a little more about who gets casted for the Daisy Ridley movie, if anybody comes back. What's going to be going on with Dave Filoni, because really, I'm going to be looking more for the Dave Filoni and Daisy Ridley one more than the First Jedi, but I will be interested to find out who ends up playing that character. You know, whether it's a not a nobody, but in the sense of like not a very popular actor or actress, just somebody, and they make it their own. That would be very cool to see. But regardless, exciting news, and hopefully a brighter future for Star Wars. But getting that out of the way, pretty much everything else here is going to involve shows, and getting right into the next, probably the the biggest, if not, one of the biggest announcements and things that, we're seeing. I'm sorry, was seen at Star Wars Celebration was the trailer for Ahsoka, the show that's coming out on Disney Plus, and we kind of have a release date. So, if you guys don't know, it is going to release in August of 2023, so the end of this summer. Excuse me, which is very exciting. And they did show a trailer for it. I don't know if it was the official trailer or teaser trailer or whatever,
It was
but
the like official trailer.
excuse me. Um, Nonetheless, it looks great. Um, Spoiler alert: if you haven't seen it, we do see the return of some animated characters that are now in live action. We obviously see Sabine, Hera, Chopper, and Ezra, which is super cool. I mean, we do not see Ezra as in like him um, in person, but we see him as a hologram, which he kind of looks a little but I have faith that he'll look better in person, obviously. I also did see a clip where Sabine apparently had Ezra's lightsaber,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. So that's gonna be cool to see in live action, because I always thought he had one of the best lightsabers. Um, and again, Hera, Chopper, Sabine, they all look great. Ahsoka looks sick. I mean, she really does look good in live action. We saw the introduction of two Inquisitor-looking people. I believe um, they are. I don't know if they're Jedi or just younglings that survived Order 66, and they are not Inquisitors, but they are force-wielding people. I believe one is a Master and Padawan, and they do look cool nonetheless. I forgot their names, but they kind of seem like the main antagonist of the show. Actually, I lied. Um, the main one would actually be Thrawn. We saw a live action version of Thrawn, which, if you guys don't know, is probably one of the best villains in Star Wars. Um, blue guy, basically. He's obviously featured heavily in Rebels. There are books and obviously comics about him, but it's the same guy that voiced him that is doing that is playing Thrawn in live action. I think he looks great, and I think it's gonna be super cool to see Thrawn, because a lot of people were speculating that in the Mandalorian when we first saw Ahsoka, and obviously it is true. So we're gonna see pretty much the whole Rebels crew. We did see Zeb in The Mandalorian, but we didn't see him in his trailer. So I wonder if he is going to be in it. I hope he is, because I do like Zeb, and I want to know what happened with the Ghost Crew. Um, we could possibly see Kanan as a Force Ghost, if he can do that. I don't know. Or maybe see flashbacks with him. With Ezra, that'd be super cool. And obviously, hopefully, find out what happened to Ezra. What's going on with the Ghost Crew, because if you guys don't know, Rebels is a great show, and excuse me, both of us highly recommend. Um, and I just think it looks great. Obviously there's a couple more Easter eggs and stuff in the trailer, but It also looks. We also do see. I forgot his name, but if you guys don't know, in the Clone Wars series, there's an episode featured on Jedi younglings building the lightsaber, and there's a droid that helps with that, and he is featured in this. So we might see Jedi younglings or like those younglings grown up, such as
I believe
Gunji, as
his
we
name
talked about.
is like Hu Young or something along the lines of
Yeah,
that.
so we might see some of those younglings that survive. Like it'd be really cool to see Gunji in live action if possible. If not, nonetheless, he's in it, which is again another character from the Clone Wars. And we also do see kind of an Inquisitor looking um, person. I don't know exactly if they're Inquisitor or not. A lot of people are speculating that is one of the Jedi younglings, from that episode turned Inquisitor slash whatever they are. Um, but again, Ahsoka's powers look sick in this. Rosario Dawson looks like she's gonna kill it again. Um, Fun fact: I think the girl that's playing Hera is actually Owen McGregor's wife.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. Again, Chopper in live action. Can't wait to see him, commit more murder. Um,
He loves to see it.
Sabine looks really cool, and apparently the girl's like a great fit for her. And it's just gonna be cool to see more of the Rebels, plus Ahsoka, and kind of see where her story goes. Um, but yeah, I mean that's definitely super exciting news, and so anticipated. And again, I didn't get to see the trailer before I saw the spoilers, but I was still excited nonetheless because the first thing I actually saw was Sabine and Hera. I actually didn't get Thrawn spoiled for me, but then I did end up seeing it. Um, but I mean, all those are again that's just great news for Star Wars, and I think this is gonna be a contender for one of the best Star Wars shows, live action wise and animated wise. We'll see how many seasons they go. I don't know how many episodes are confirmed right now for this, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's obviously awesome to see the Rebels cast like, in live action form. I think all the actors that are portraying the characters, like they fit the roles perfectly. I mean, I'm totally in love with, the actress that plays Sabine. I mean, I think she looks like perfect.
Yeah,
And again, even, Hera and I mean, we saw like a hologram of Ezra. We didn't see him in the flesh, but we saw a hologram of him, and he's definitely giving off his like, final season vibes with like his slick back hair and, his, I mean, it was almost like a carbon copy of like what he would look like in real life. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, obviously we've already seen Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, and we see how she looks as Ahsoka, and we finally got confirmation that the actor that is playing Thrawn is, I believe his name is like Ian Mickelson or something like that,
uh-huh.
and he was the voice actor of Thrawn in the Rebel show. So I mean, it's literally like the perfect casting. And not only that, but Dave Filoni has been in conversation and talks with Timothy Zahn, which was the creator of Thrawn, and he was the one that made all the different trilogies of Thrawn, with new canon and with the extended universe. So the fact that he's like, actually like getting feedback and talking to the author who created Thrawn means that's gonna be such a good project, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I would love to talk more about this, but we are running low on time for our first part of our session. Um, so I think this is where we take our brief intermission and we come back with the second part.
Sounds good. I didn't even know we were getting down to like 20 seconds left. But